results in terms of the European race for the Champions League. And we also had some surprise results, and we've got a lot to discuss, so I'm going to go through all of the games and give my thoughts and opinions on them. Some of the games where they're sort of like nothing games, I'm just going to briefly mention, but I go into depth in sort of the important ones, and at the end of the video we'll also have a look at some results across Europe, because I want to talk about some of the playoffs that's been happening in the EFL. There was some titles wrapped up, there was an El Classico, there was some twists and turns, so yeah, we've got a lot to discuss, so let's get into it. So we'll start here with Fulham 1, Everton 3, goal from Raul Jimenez, Vitaly Mykolenko, Michael Keane and Beto. So Everton with a bit of a smash and grab win here, away from home, a very, very impressive 3-1 victory against Fulham. They went 1-0 down, and to be honest, they kind of got peppered throughout the whole game, but they had 3 chances and they put all 3 away, really. As you can see here, right? 18 shots for Fulham. Fulham had all of the ball, and Fulham were probably the better side, but Everton were just far, far more clinical than Fulham. A bit of luck as well. Mykolenko's goal obviously had a deflection. Beto's goal. Bern Leno had a real disaster class for that goal. A really poor error, which is unfortunate because he's been so good for Fulham this season. And then a goal from a corner from Michael Keane. It was effective, but it worked from Everton. So yeah, they get the job done there. To be honest, I did think maybe Leno was getting fouled for that corner, but yeah, they gave it in the end. Beto continues his goal scoring, amazing goal scoring. I believe that brings him to double digits now, 10 goals in the Premier League this season, which I mean is actually pretty impressive considering I'm pretty sure all 10 of those have come in the back end of the season under David Moyes. But a big win for Everton, however a really, really bad loss for Fulham, which really dents their chances of getting a Conference League spot. They are still in a race for the Conference League spot, which is most likely going to be 8th spot, but with others around them picking up victories, they now drop to 11th spot and are now 4 points off 8th, so they pretty much have to win both of their remaining fixtures to have any chance now of getting European football, which is a little bit disappointing. The way they've collapsed at the end of the season with just 1 win in 5, but yeah, not ideal. Okay, next up, Ipswich 0, Brentford 1, goal from Kevin Schade. So Brentford, they are another team in that race for the Conference League 8th place spot, and unlike Fulham, who have really collapsed at the end of the season, Brentford have just hit some incredible form in the back end of the season. I think, let me have a look, that might be like their 4th win in a row. Yeah, it is 4 wins in a row now for Brentford after this win against Ipswich. I tell you what, it was not the most convincing at all, and they kind of rode their luck. Ipswich at the end had some really good chances and probably should have got an equaliser. Mark Fleckham made some really big saves for Brentford at the end. Brentford's goal was actually pretty funny because it was from a corner, and I believe it took about like 3 or 4 minutes for the actual corner to take place, because they took the corner about 3 times, and every time it was like WWE in that penalty area. There was just so much wrestling, the ref had to keep on constantly pulling it back, and in the end they actually took it and they actually scored. Kevin Schade with a great goal there. So Brentford, a really, really big victory for them in that race for the Conference League spot, and they actually do move into 8th. So they've hit form at the right time, and it would be a great achievement for them to get into Europe, right? So let's see if they can do it. Okay, moving on to Southampton 0, Manchester City 0. A big shock here as Southampton managed to somehow hold out against Manchester City for a draw, and that does mean that Southampton have avoided the record points tally of Derby County. They only needed one more point to get it. I don't think many people expected that point to come against Manchester City, but it did. Southampton, fair play, they defended very, very well. I mean, they did not try to score a goal at all, but I mean, you don't really expect them to, right? I know Ruben Diaz had some comments about them, but at the end of the day, what do you expect? Southampton to go gun-ho and try and press Man City off the park, right? It's just not going to happen. And I actually thought, for all, Manchester City had the ball, they had some shots, they actually didn't really create any clear-cut opportunities. As you can see here, right, they didn't have a single big chance in this game. And one, you have to give fantastic credit to Southampton's defence, because they put all 11 men behind the ball and they worked really hard to get that point. But from a Manchester City perspective, the creativity was just non-existent. They really, really struggled to break down that low block of Southampton. Erling Haaland returned in this game but got absolutely zero service whatsoever. And yeah, most of the chances from Manchester City were sort of half chances and balls into the box. I think Marmoush had the best chance where he hit the bar, but that was sort of just a pot shot. I'm not sure why Marmoush, by the way, only got 5 minutes in this game. That was pretty crazy to me. But yeah, Manchester City, this is really bad because a win here would have put them in a fantastic position to get into the top 5. Was a must-win game for Manchester City, and they failed to do so. And they now drop behind Newcastle into 4th, so this is a real opportunity for Manchester City here to get a win. It would have been their 5th win in a row in the Premier League, carry on that momentum, but they failed to do so. Kind of embarrassing, to be honest, against such a bad Southampton side not to pick up a win, so not a good result. And also, they've got the FA Cup final next weekend, so I mean, of course, form goes really out the window for the FA Cup final, but it's not really ideal preparation and kind of halts their momentum going into that. Alright, next up, Wolves for 0, Brighton 2, goal from Danny Welbeck and Gruder. So Brighton pick up a very important victory here against Wolves. They needed a victory to keep their hopes alive for European spots, and they did so in pretty impressive fashion. Danny Welbeck with a penalty, one of Matheus Cunha, who I'm not sure what on earth he was doing there. To be honest, it's very, very lucky he didn't get sent off for that challenge, because he was through on goal and he pretty much kicked him on the high leg, so I'm not sure how he didn't get sent off for that challenge, but Welbeck put the penalty away. That is, I saw a crazy stat actually, that is now 10 goals in the league for Welbeck, and the first ever time in his career he's done so, which I find very surprising. But overall, Brighton were pretty good in this game. Both teams had their chances. Wolves' first half was quite bad, but the second half, after they made some changes, were okay. Had some momentum, had some chances, but couldn't really take them in the end. Gruder came off the bench to score his first goal in a Brighton shirt and seemed pretty emotional as well, so it was a nice moment for him, a really good finish and a big win for Brighton, because it does keep them in with a chance of getting the Conference League spot. They are level on points with Brentford, who are in 8th, so it's really all to play for, and Brighton still have an opportunity here of qualifying for the Conference League, which would be nice for them. I know we all sort of mock the Conference League, right, but really for teams like Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth and Fulham, European competition would be so good for their fans, so good for their club, because most seasons these guys don't really get that opportunity. So yeah, it'll be interesting who gets it out of them, but Brighton have kept their chances alive with that win. Bournemouth 0, Aston Villa 1, a goal from Ollie Watkins and a red card from Jacob Ramsey. So, while Brighton kept their hopes alive of Conference League football, Bournemouth's were almost dashed here with a very disappointing loss against Aston Villa. They are still 2 points away from Brentford in 8th, but this was a real opportunity miss for Bournemouth. They definitely could have got some points here. It was a very even game for most part of the game, particularly the first half wasn't really too many chances. But then Watkins came up with a really nice finish for his goal. And in his second half, Villa had some chances, but after the red card, actually for those final 10 minutes, Bournemouth peppered Villa and had some really big chances, but Emi Martinez made off some really good saves. Matty Cash made a nice clearance at the end as well. So Bournemouth really could have snatched a point here, which would have really helped them in their race for the Conference League spot, but they didn't manage to do so. And Villa managed to hold on to a vital win for them, because this puts them firmly in the race for top 5. It wasn't the greatest performance in the world by Villa, as I mentioned. It was a pretty even game, not too many big chances for either side. Jacob Ramsey, by the way, very stupid for his 2 yellow cards, particularly the first one. But Ollie Watkins moves as Aston Villa's top Premier League goal scorer, now ahead of Gabby Abongolo. So a nice moment for Watkins, but a really big win for Villa, because they weren't amazing, but they got the job done. And as you can see, that moves them now level on points with Chelsea, who are in 5th place. So they needed to win this game, Villa, and they did so. Vital victory for them. Yeah, well done to them, and it makes top 5 very interesting. Newcastle United 2, Chelsea 0, a goal from Sandro Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and a red card from Nicholas Jackson. So this was a massive clash at the top of the table for top 5 Champions League spots, between Newcastle and Chelsea, who I believe were 4th and 5th at the time. But Newcastle came out on top, meaning they now move into 3rd place ahead of Manchester City after they dropped points. And Newcastle are now 3 points clear of 6th spot Aston Villa, with 2 games to go. It was a massive game for Newcastle, and a massive victory for them. It puts them in a fantastic position now to secure top 5, and if you look at their goal difference as well, to be honest, now it's about 1 win would probably do it for Newcastle now. So it was vitally important they won this game, and they did so, but they were very lucky, and the main reason they won this game was, of course, because of Nicholas Jackson, because, well, the first half Newcastle were brilliant and clearly the better side in the first half. They got an early goal through Sandro Tonali, had a couple chances here and there. They limited Chelsea to absolutely nothing. We didn't have a single shot on target in that first half. But in the second half, Newcastle, it honestly looked like they were playing with 10 men. I mean, look at that, wow. 3 shots in the second half, 33% possession. They really didn't offer much, and it honestly felt like they were playing with 10 men, despite Chelsea having 10 men. Chelsea were actually the better side in the second half. But in the end, Newcastle managed to hold on and get that goal late on. It's not really about how you win for Newcastle, they just got to win, which is really all that matters. So well done to them. As I mentioned, it moves them into a fantastic position to get top 5 now, with pretty much a win. I think they just need 4 points mathematically to secure it now, so very well done to them. But, oh boy, from Chelsea perspective, I can't really criticise the team except this one player here, Nicholas Jackson, because he may well have just cost us Champions League football. He may well have just cost us Champions League football. I will say, firstly, the first half in general, we started before the red card. We were rubbish. We were not good enough, by the way. It was not a good performance in that first half in general. But you're thinking, okay, it's 1-0, let's get to half time. 1-0, 11 men, regroup in the second half. And Nicholas Jackson with just a stupid elbow. It was a clear red card. No need whatsoever for it. Petulant behaviour. And he completely cost us in this game, because the second half we were much better. We were the better side, and I do generally believe with 11 men we probably do at least get a draw, maybe even win this game, because we created a couple decent chances in that second half with 10 men and looked very good. So Nicholas Jackson cost us this game, and this was a big game for us in the top 5 race. It means we now are in 5th spot still, but now we're level on points with Aston Villa, which is not good at all. And of course it means Nicholas Jackson will be missing the final 2 games of the season. And of course, as we've seen all season, when we don't have, because Jackson is our only actual striker in the side, when we don't play with Jackson, we are rubbish. Not because Jackson is a good player, but because we don't have a single striker other than Jackson in the Chelsea squad. So we now are going to have to put Nkunku up top, who absolutely stinks up top, or we're going to have to play Neto up top. It just derails the entire team. For those remaining 2 games, he's cost us points here, and he may well have just cost us top 5. He may well have just cost us. I can't really criticise the team here. I can't really criticise Enzo Maresca here, because ultimately the red card changed the game, and ultimately if we don't get top 5, Nicholas Jackson is going to play a big role in that. Anyways, Manchester United 0, West Ham 2, goals from Thomas Soucek and Jared Bowen. So West Ham beat Man United here. I think it's their first winner at Old Trafford in like 15 years. Yet another loss for Man United. I mean, I don't know, honestly, what more can I say here? It's just, it baffles me, as we'll get on to next as well, how the Europa League final is Man United and Spurs. How can Man United be so good in the Europa League and then put in a display like that in the Premier League? Like, seriously. Man United, when was the last time these guys even won a game in the Premier League? Like, these guys are just absolutely awful in the Premier League. Look at that, like they haven't won a single game in the last 5. And with this result, Man United are in 16th place with 2 games remaining in the season. They are still not on 40 points. Let that sink in, guys, because I'm sorry, sure, if you win the Europa League, you got in the Champions League, you've got a European trophy, that's good, but at the end of the day, this season has been an utter disgrace and a joke. It's been an utter disgrace. 16th in the Premier League table. That is crazy. If the bottom 3 were actually any good, Man United would be in a relegation battle with 2 games left of the season. And that's not me just, banter. That's being genuine here. Manchester United, in a normal Premier League season with better teams, would be a relegation candidate with 2 because if you lose that Europa League final, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, it's not going to look good, because we'll look back on this season and say, Man United finished 16th, trophyless, out of Europe, and almost got relegated. That's not a good look, and hell, Ruben Amorim's job may even be in danger. It may even be in danger if he loses that Europa League final, because they just cannot buy a win in the Premier League for some reason against a West Ham side who themselves couldn't buy a win under Potter, yet West Ham comfortably beat them. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke from Manchester United. Yeah, there's not more I can really say on that, because actually I'm gonna skip this. I'm just gonna jump to Tottenham, because it's just copy and paste really. Tottenham Hotspur 0, Crystal Palace 2, Eberechi Eze with a brace. Wow. Everything I said about Man United, just copy and paste it, but make it worse, because Spurs are 17th in the Premier League table with 2 games left of the season. 17th. Spurs right now, because these 3 teams are relegated. Tottenham are currently the worst team in the Premier League. Like, statistically, they are the worst team in the Premier League right now. Do you know how mad and embarrassing that is? That is crazy. They are, like Man United, still not on 40 points. Manchester United and Spurs are the 2 worst teams in the Premier League, because these 3 are not Premier League sides. The other 2 worst teams in the Premier League. It's crazy. Same thing as United here, a comfortable win for Crystal Palace. I mean, it was even worse. Crystal Palace absolutely battered them. They had like 2 goals disallowed in this game. Could have had even more if it wasn't for Kinski, who made some really good saves. It was light work. It was honestly light work for Crystal Palace, who shout out to them. Great preparation for the FA Cup final coming up. And shout out Eze, by the way, who has ended this season on some insane form. But wow, Spurs, I mean, it's crazy. The crazy thing is, like, I don't know what it is, but in the Europa League, Ange Postecoglou actually has a brain. Like, he actually shows some tactical flexibility. He actually adjusts, does his in-game management. He actually changes things up. He actually has some sort of plan, some style, and then all of a sudden he goes into the Prem, and then it just disappears. I don't understand with Spurs and United how you can just in one competition be actually pretty good, and in the other competition be the 2 worst teams in the competition. Like, are you crazy? How is that even possible? 20 league losses for Spurs. And it's the exact same thing for Ange, as I said, for Amorim. Oh boy, he better hope he wins that Europa League title. Hell, even if he does win it, I don't even know if he can survive at this point, because that's surely just papering over the cracks, because if you finish 17th in the Premier League, how the hell are you keeping your job? I'm sorry, but that is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And yeah, Spurs United are just an absolute joke, aren't they? And oh gosh, what does it say about the state of Europe? And for teams in the Europa League, they should be absolutely ashamed of themselves that 17th and 16th in the Premier League are in the final. Like, how embarrassing is that on the teams in the Europa League? But anyways, Nottingham Forest 2, Leicester City 2, got some Morgan Gibbs-White, Chris Wood, Connor Cody and Facundo Buonanotte. So, Leicester hold out Nottingham Forest, and a big dent in Nottingham Forest's top 5 hopes in this game. They slip up yet again, this time a late Buonanotte goal. Forest have really been collapsing. I think that's no win in their last 3 games now. They haven't won. Forest are not doing well at all. I did actually predict this when I did my predictions for with 10 games to go, I said, the pressure, I've seen it with teams before. Actually, I've seen it with Leicester, right? You play with no fear, you play with no pressure for 90% of the season, and then when there's actually expectation and when there's pressure, when there's something tangible to get, you start to collapse. And that's sort of what's happened here with Nottingham Forest, because this is really inexcusable at home against Leicester City, who of course are already relegated, who I don't even remember the last time besides Southampton they scored 2 goals in a game. To draw against them is really poor, and it wasn't even like it was a smash and grab by Leicester. Leicester even had a chance late on through Monga, who almost scored, and I think he's like 15, that would have been crazy, but really bad from Nottingham Forest, really, really bad from Forest here in top 5. It does look like it's slowly slipping away now. They are still in the race, of course. They are only 1 point away from Chelsea, but out of all of these sides, they are the team who are not in form. They are in the worst form right now out of everyone. So unless they find a way to restore their form and salvage something here, it looks like they probably won't get Champions League football, which is of course very disappointing given how much of a lead they had earlier on in the season. There was also a moment with Nuno and the owner where the owner went onto the pitch after the game and started confronting Nuno, which I think just exemplifies sort of the pressure and that everyone is feeling at Nottingham Forest right now. Now there's expectation, now that Champions League is within sight, they are sort of feeling the pressure and they're sort of panicking after results and stuff like that. So yeah, not great for Nottingham Forest at all. Oh wait, we already done that game. Final game at Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2, goals from Cody Gakpo, Luis Diaz, Gabo Martinelli, Miguel Marino, and a red card for Miguel Marino. So the champions blew a 2-goal lead in this one. It was a pretty good watch and really a tale of two halves here. First half, Liverpool were in cruise control. It wasn't even like they were trying, but Arsenal just looked way off of it, and they scored 2 goals inside 2 minutes, and by 2-0 up, cruising, it was pretty comfortable for them. Besides one chance from a free kick, Arsenal didn't offer anything on a Liverpool goal. The defending for both Liverpool goals was really shambolic from Ben White and William Saliba, Lewis Skelly, all of them. But second half, Arsenal were clearly the better side in the game. They got a goal early on through Martinelli, very poor defending from Liverpool and Canate there. And then Miguel Marino managed to get a goal in the 70th minute to tie it up. Arsenal were definitely the better side in the second half and did very well to get back into the game. But the last 10 minutes, Liverpool were on top after Marino got a second yellow, which of course isn't ideal because he'll miss the next game against Newcastle, which is a pretty big game for Arsenal. And Liverpool almost won it at the end, but it was a foul from Canate. But in the end, I think the draw was probably the fair result, given Liverpool were the better side in the first half and Arsenal were the better side in the second half. There was also a guard of honour given by Arsenal to Liverpool, which was of course pretty funny, right? Because Arsenal, of course, the perennial bridesmaids giving a guard of honour. There was a interesting talking point as well with Trent Alexander-Arnold, who, of course, has officially announced he's leaving Liverpool at the end of the season, and this is his first appearance since then. He got subbed on and was actually booed by some Liverpool fans, not all of them, but some Liverpool fans. And personally, my take on that, I think it was a little bit distasteful from most Liverpool fans in terms of, I completely understand if you dislike Trent now that he's leaving and are unhappy with him going, but I just think when someone's got your jersey on, when someone's getting subbed on to help your team, you shouldn't really be booing your own player. Once he leaves, sure, you can boo him, you can say what you want your team, playing for your team still. You should be supporting them and shouldn't be booing your own players, particularly, give them, your champions, right? So he's helped you win the Premier League this season and stuff like that. So I understand if you would be angry about him moving, but booing your own player, personally, I don't think you should be booing someone wearing your jersey. And particularly Liverpool fans, given you'll never walk alone. Well, apparently, unless you're Trent, you'll never walk alone. But anyways, Arsenal, though it was a pretty big point for them, because if he had lost this game, they really would have been in danger of getting dragged into this top 5 battle. They now do have a little bit of a buffer, and it seems they probably will get top 5. But they have a big game against Newcastle up next, because if they lose that, Newcastle will actually leapfrog them, and they'll drop to 3rd. So I know 2nd doesn't mean much, but in the grand scheme of things, if Arsenal were to finish 3rd or even 4th, it really would not be a good look on Arteta and Arsenal's season. But yeah, right. So that was the roundup. So this is the Premier League table. Then I pretty much ran through it already, but yeah, very tight right now. Newcastle 3rd now, Man City 4th, Chelsea 5th, and Villa, just goal difference separates them from 5th spots. And yeah, then Nottingham Forest are now 1 point away from 5th spot as well, and Brentford, Brighton, Bournemouth and Fulham still have a chance of killing the Conference League spots. Right, before we go, let's have a look at some results across Europe. So I'm going to go to La Liga, because we had a big El Classico this weekend, which was a crazy game. It ended 4-3 Barcelona. There was a hat-trick from Real Madrid in Kylian Mbappe, yet that wasn't enough to win the game. I mean, this was absolutely insane. Real Madrid went 2-0 up inside 14 minutes, and by the 34th minute were already 3-2 down. It was absolutely crazy, and ended the half 4-2 down, which is nuts. But yeah, it was a great watch, and Barcelona completely dominated them. Look at 4.2 XG is absolutely nuts, and they didn't even have a penalty to Barcelona. Yet again, that is their 4th win of the season against Real Madrid in all competitions. They completely own Madrid right now, and that was a big result for the table, because that effectively will crown Barcelona champions, as they now move 7 points clear of Real Madrid. So it's not mathematically done just yet, but this result effectively ended the title race and crowned Barcelona champions. So a very, very poor end to the season for Real Madrid. A nice moment for Kylian Mbappe, I guess. You can take some pride from the game, but everyone else not really. And Barcelona, good for them. After getting knocked out in the Champions League, of course, midweek, they bounced back, and it does seem they'll get a league and cup double this season, which is still a very, very good year. Let's go to Serie A, where there was a massive twist in the title race, and this is actually the only top 5 league where the title race is still alive pretty much now. So Inter Milan got their job done after their win in the Champions League midweek against Barca. They rotated a little bit and they got the job done, beating Torino 2-0. But Napoli, a late goal in the 84th minute against Genoa, meant they dropped points, and this blows the title race wide open now, and it is all to play for in Serie A, as now there is just 1 point separating Napoli at the top and Inter in second with 2 games to go. So this is so good. But only, as I said, the only top 5 league where the title race is still fascinating what happens there. Inter do have a tough game though next up against Lazio, but let's see what happens there. And the top 4 race as well is, as always, extremely tight. Speaking of titles, if we go to the Bundesliga, so this title is already wrapped up, but there was a official trophy lift for a certain man, Harry Kane. Got his hands on a trophy this time, officially lifting the Bundesliga title. Thomas Müller, of course, as well. It was his last game at home for Bayern Munich. It was a nice like guard of honour he got when he got subbed off and lifted the trophy. But Harry Kane got his first ever trophy. He got to lift it. You can see the joy in his face. And to be fair, you know, as much as I don't necessarily like Kane, it was all fun and games. The whole Kane curse. I am happy for him because he does deserve to finally win a trophy. Also a nice moment for Eric Dyer too, who was honoured by the Bayern Munich fans and staff as well, because he'll be leaving at the end of the season. But yeah, also speaking of leaving at the end of the season, Xabi Alonso said goodbye to Bayer Leverkusen fans in his last home game of the season. Didn't go too well because Dortmund beat them 4-2, which big result for them in their top 4 race. But Xabi Alonso has confirmed he's leaving Leverkusen at the end of the season. Will probably join Real Madrid. And yeah, he said goodbye to the fans. But yeah, shout out Dortmund because they are now just 1 point away from 4th spots. But yeah, I also want to talk about a couple other title races across Europe, because there was actually some really interesting stuff that happened. For example, in the Eredivisie, Ajax at one point were completely clear, but they are now just 1 point ahead of PSV with 2 games to go after PSV beat Feyenoord, and Ajax lost 3-0 against 13th place NEK. I don't even know who this team is. So that means now, with 2 games to go, PSV are just 1 point away from Ajax, so watch out for the Eredivisie title race, by the way. And also, there was a big game in the Portuguese League too, between Sporting and Benfica, who they are currently joint on points now, with 2 games to go as well, after they drew 1-1 in this game. So this is going right down to the wire. So really, we've got the Portuguese League, the Dutch League, and Serie A are the 3 title races you need to look out for the remainder of the season. But before we do wrap up, let's just briefly touch on the playoffs, because they took place the first leg. So Sheffield United thumped Bristol City 3-0 in their first leg, so it looks like they're going to Wembley. And Sunderland beat Coventry 2-1 away from home, so this tie is not done, but it's definitely in their hands, so it's looking like it could be a Sheffield United Sunderland playoff final. If we go to League One, these ones are a lot more to play for here, because this one ended 2-2 between Leyton Orient and Stockport. A late penalty from Leyton Orient in that one, and Wigan Wanderers Charlton ended 0-0, so all to play for there. Meanwhile, in League 2, they are a little bit more done, with Wimbledon beating Notts County 1-0, and Starman Alessandro Chatter, who is like Notts County's best goal scorer, got a red card, so not ideal going into the second leg. And Walsall beat Chesterfield 2-0 away from home, so looks like they're going to Wembley. But yeah, that was the weekend roundup. Let me know your thoughts on any of the games we discussed in